Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of big news I'd like to share with all of you today. So, last night we had a very interesting string of events unfolding in this war. Yesterday, I gave you guys an update that Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke with US President Donald Trump over the phone, and they held a phone call to talk about the ceasefire deal with Ukraine. And we heard from Vladimir Putin that he rejected a full ceasefire or unconditional ceasefire with Ukraine, but did agree to a limited ceasefire and would not attack any energy facilities. He also reportedly ordered his military to stand down and not attack any energy facilities inside of Ukraine. Well, soon after that, we actually saw attacks from both sides directly on energy facilities in Russia and Ukraine. So we'll start off talking about that. We'll start off with this story here on your screen. Ukrainian drones struck Russia's Kavkazskaya oil pumping station. Ukrainian drones attacked the Kavkazskaya oil pumping station in Russia's Krasnodar overnight. The attack reportedly damaged a pipeline connecting storage tanks. Huge fire erupts. Okay, this is video footage coming out from the Kavkazskaya oil pumping station in Krasnodar southwestern Russia, just today. So apparently, this fire started out at around 20 square meters and eventually overnight grew to 3,800 square meters. So this facility is going to be completely shut down for probably maybe several days or weeks. Who knows what's going to happen here? But this fire is reportedly still burning at this time. As you can see, even during the day, still a massive fire over here, and most likely storage tanks catching on fire as well. So we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But also last night, Russia reportedly bombed an energy grid or power station inside of the Donetsk region of Ukraine near the city of Sloviansk. So this was literally just 2 to 3 hours after Russia reportedly agreed to a ceasefire with Ukraine to not attack energy sites inside of Ukraine. So I thought that was interesting because, again, the Russian President Vladimir Putin reportedly had ordered his military not to do this, yet just hours later, this is exactly what we saw. So I've got video footage coming out from Sloviansk, also reportedly indicating that we had an energy site that was attacked over there. And what we were hearing was half the city in that region was without power after this energy facility was hit. So lots of other things to talk about. I want to go ahead and start diving into this. Let's jump on over to X now. With Igor Sushko, Russia multiple Ukrainian drones struck the Kavkazskaya oil depot and pipeline in Krasnodar Krai. The facility is used for oil destined for export. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely a major facility. They export oil out of their country from this transshipment oil pumping station. Okay, so you can see here a massive fire at the facility. As we understand, a pipeline connecting storage tanks was initially hit, probably eventually grew to one of these oil storage tanks, also catching on fire because we know this fire did expand. Okay, now moving on to Max 24, NPS Kavkazskaya continues to burn as of this morning. Okay, so here's another video showing this morning this massive fire over here right next to this oil storage tank. Take a look at this. All right, so based on this video, this is actually a really good clip because it shows up close here. It does look like this pipeline over here is on fire, but it's right next to that oil storage tank. You can see that storage tank starting to turn black, so maybe that thing's going to catch on fire and erupt here very soon as well. So pretty massive hits here by Ukraine using their drones last night. Now for Max 24, more from Krasnodar Krai. We've got like a 40-second video here that no point really trying to show sound, just somebody talking, but we can see this fire erupting over here at this oil pumping station as it was burning through the night just last night. Okay, so pretty crazy video there. Now jumping on over to NOAA reports, the fire at the Kavkazskaya oil pumping station is now spread to nearly 3,800 square meters. Looks like the Russians won't be using this station anytime soon. So here's a video clip showing a little bit further away. You can see a lot of smoke coming from this facility as it's still burning. You can see the fire a little bit right there just above the trees also. Okay, so again, massive hits by Ukraine last night, taking out this oil pumping station in the Krasnodar Krai region of Russia. Here's some photos also coming out from the area that some locals were able to capture. Does look like there's an oil storage tank right there that potentially caught on fire as well. And this fire definitely got very massive. Okay, so huge hit by Ukraine last night. Now we'll move on to an update from Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and he's going to talk about the attacks coming into Ukraine last night. We had at least 140 drones entering into Ukraine. We also had bombs obviously being dropped near Sloviansk last night, destroying that power facility. So here's the update from Zelenskyy. Right now, in many regions, you can literally hear what Russia truly needs. Around 40 Shahed drones are in our skies, and our defense is active. Unfortunately, there have been hits, specifically on civilian infrastructure. A direct hit by Shahed drone on a hospital in Sumy, strikes on cities in the Donetsk region, and attack drones currently in the skies over Kiev, Zhytomyr, Sumy, Cherniv, Poltava, Kharkiv, Kirovohrad, Dnipropetrovsk, and Cherkasy regions. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing all those right. If it is these types of nighttime attacks by Russia that destroy our energy sector, our infrastructure, and the normal life of Ukrainians, and the fact that this night is no exception, shows the pressure on Russia must continue for the sake of peace. Today, Putin effectively rejected the proposal for a full ceasefire. It would be right for the world to respond by rejecting any attempts by Putin to prolong the war, sanctions against Russia, assistance to Ukraine, strengthening allies in the free world, and working towards security guarantees and only a real cessation of strikes on civilian infrastructure by Russia as proof of its willingness to end this war can bring peace closer. So here's a photo he was sharing, showing a fire, which I believe this is a hospital in Sumy that caught on fire as it was directly hit on the top. This is up near the Kursk region of Russia, where Ukraine is currently still, as far as I know, carrying out operations over there. So we've got more information on that strike on Sumy here at that hospital in just a little bit. So move on to another update. Sorry, guys, didn't want to load there, but from Katerina Mathernova, if I'm saying that right, ceasefire discussions took place today. This is how Kiev's night sounded tonight. So we've got a video here to show you guys Kiev last night coming under massive attack, and air defense was active over here. So take a look. This is all while at the same time, just hours before this attack, Russia was saying they were agreeing to a ceasefire on energy facilities across Ukraine. Take a look. All right, so we can hear lots of explosions in the distance. Somebody living inside of Kiev last night. Kiev was definitely heavily attacked last night with drones. Lots of explosions in the area. We've got another video coming up right now, also from Volgograd. Sounds of an energy truce in Zaporozhye, if I'm saying that's right. Basically, Zaporizhia is what he's talking about here. But even Zaporizhia being heavily attacked last night, you're going to hear lots of gunfire here trying to bring down these incoming drones from Russia. So take a look at this. All right, so it looks like it was a very active night inside of Ukraine last night. Ukraine's defense forces were obviously very busy trying to bring down a lot of these incoming drones. So 140 drones going into Ukraine is pretty average what we've seen, but it's just crazy that, we literally have ceasefire talks going on right now between both sides, yet at the same time, Russia's launching a massive attack onto Ukraine, and then Ukraine responded soon after with their own drone attack. So now for military news UA, Russia's just hit the energy sector in Sloviansk, Donetsk region, part of the city without electricity, according to local channels. Immediate ceasefire across all energy sectors, quote unquote, is working. Okay, so this is a map kind of showing the different regions last night that were being targeted by Russian drones, and also we had bombs being dropped over here in the Donetsk region. This is where Sloviansk was at. That's why it has a bomb symbol here, or explosion symbol, and then we've got drones just attacking multiple regions across Ukraine last night. Now from Ukraine front line, Russia just broke the ceasefire, and the doves of peace in the form of guided aerial bombs flew in through the power grid of Sloviansk, Donetsk region. Half the city is without electricity right now. So here's a video coming out from that area. Somebody's going to be recording a massive explosion in Sloviansk, reportedly targeting that energy facility last night. So take a look at this, 11 seconds long.
Ебать! Пизда нахуй.
All right, so we can see a massive explosion here lighting up the skies, and you can hear also right after that explosion goes off, lots of car alarms were going off as well at the same time, possibly indicating they were located very close to where that energy facility is at. Okay, and if Russia's dropping bombs, they're obviously aiming directly for that energy facility. Okay, and this was literally just hours after we heard Russian President Vladimir Putin agree to a limited ceasefire with Ukraine to not attack their energy sites. Now, from the Ukrainian Review, Ukraine will provide partners with a list of objects that Russia should not shell, according to Zelenskyy. It will include energy, infrastructure, and civilian objects. Okay, so this was actually coming out today from Vladimir Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine. I believe he was speaking in Finland today with Finland's president, and he's pretty much stating here that maybe they need to create a list of objects that Russia cannot go after. So maybe that will kind of hold up this ceasefire more effectively, and maybe actually have designated sites that they can say that, hey, Russia cannot attack these. But I mean, I would think if you're going to say energy facilities or just energy in general, I would think that would mean like oil depots, energy facilities, like power stations, power substations, things like that, thermal power plants. You would think that would all just kind of be collectively be included, but immediately that's what we saw Russia doing last night. Now from NOAA reports, a Ukrainian attack on the Uneka, if I'm saying that right, I might be pronouncing that wrong, oil pumping station resulted in the complete destruction of the 110 kilovolt Vysoko, if I'm saying that right, substation, cutting off its power supply. LPS Uneka is a key hub for oil transit via the Druzhba oil pipeline to Ust-Luga, a major exports route for Russian oil. Okay, so we don't know exactly when this attack took place, but many sources on X were reporting this today, and I did a little research online as well and took a look at a few mainstream news articles discussing this. So reportedly, this oil pumping station also being targeted. I think this is in the Bryansk region of Russia, and the Uneka oil pumping station was hit at one point. We can see damage right here. We had some satellite images coming out showing that. And reportedly, this thing was hit. You can see Bryansk region right here. Here's the Ukraine, northern Ukraine. This is where Bryansk would be. And this pipeline runs from Bryansk region all the way up to the port of Ust-Luga, and reportedly was attacked recently. And we had direct hits over here. And apparently the substation for the power supply was hit and cut offline after being hit. So that's a pretty big hit by Ukraine. We just don't know, again, exactly when this was taking place. And we did hear recently multiple times that this pipeline actually being shut down due to attacks on pumping stations. So it could have been one of those attacks back then. But again, I don't really have too much information, unfortunately, on that. But we know for sure we did have a hit on that pumping station recently. Now from Bliskovka, Ukraine has returned 197 more soldiers from Russian captivity. President Zelenskyy confirms among them are soldiers, sergeants and officers, soldiers who fought in the ranks of the armed forces, Navy, National Guard, Territorial Defense Forces, and Border Guard. They defended Ukraine in different areas in Mariupol, including Azovstal in Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhia, Sumy, and Kursk regions. Okay, so I reported this to you guys yesterday. This was apparently agreed to by Ukraine and Russia yesterday, and Vladimir Putin reported this to Donald Trump during the phone call, stating that they were going to be releasing, I think, 175 Ukrainian soldiers for 175 Russian soldiers. Would be like a swap for prisoners, and apparently I think there was like 21 or 22 wounded Ukrainian soldiers that were also going to be released. I guess this was part of that we see here, 197, so that probably adds up to about 21, 22 extra soldiers that were released on the Ukrainian side, okay, or for Ukraine. So these were just pictures coming out today showing these soldiers returning back home and to their families, so very good to see that. Now we'll move on to United 24, a brutal strike on a hospital in Sumy, Ukraine. That's Russia's follow-up to their peace talks. Okay, so this is that picture coming out that I was talking about with you guys earlier, showing a strike on this hospital. I've got some information on that now. So now moving on to next, Russia strikes hospital in Sumy. Consequences. Late on March 18th, a Russian attack targeted medical facility in Sumy. 147 patients evacuated, including 9 with limited mobility. Children's Hospital also damaged by the blast wave. Rescuers contained fire swiftly. Fortunately, no casualties reported, another gesture of goodwill from Moscow. So I'm going to show you guys this video about 50 seconds. And again, especially up in the Sumy region, we see nothing but hospitals just being hit by Russian drones, sometimes even being bombed. I feel like this should be also part of a ceasefire. I mean, I'm not sure why Russia would be targeting so many hospitals inside of Ukraine, but this is something we repeatedly see. So take a look at this.
Повезли, цих я поодівала вже. Сама нікуди не піде, тому це я стала.
Ты держи коляску. Коляску делаем. Оп, есть. Покажите. Тут на стеле, да? Да.
All right, so for many of you that may have been watching this channel for some time now, you've probably seen me show multiple hospitals being attacked, and it seems like Russia's obviously doing this on purpose, targeting hospitals, which they should not be. But we can see yet again another hospital being damaged here. I think the most recent one we reported was in Kharkiv. We had like a dental office being hit, completely destroyed, hospitals over there being hit as well. So very crazy to continue to have to see this happening inside of Ukraine, once again in Sumy. Now for Max 24, after Putin's conversation with Trump, Russia hit energy facilities, hospitals, and transport. According to Zelenskyy, 150 drones were launched over Ukraine. Putin's words are very different from reality. Okay, this was Volodymyr Zelenskyy speaking today inside of Finland. Okay, while he was meeting with the president over there, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I've got a few updates here. Noel reports, Zelenskyy, I'll have a call with Trump today. We'll definitely win this war, he added. Without U.S. intelligence, we wouldn't know where Russian ballistic missiles are heading, but we have our own intelligence on peace, he stated. Putin shouldn't demand halting aid to Ukraine if he wants peace, okay? So basically responding to some of the demands from Putin yesterday, claiming that they want a full cessation of weapons to Ukraine and also intelligence sharing, okay? They don't want Ukraine to have any of that during the ceasefire, but we know Ukraine is most likely going to reject all that and still want to continue to receive weapons and intelligence from the West. But reportedly, yeah, there's a phone call that was held today between Trump and Zelenskyy. I'll probably do another video today if we get some good information coming out from that, and I'll show you guys some details coming out from that phone call. But that was him also speaking today in Finland. Now for Max 24, we've got a post here from Donald Trump, and it's in regards to that phone call. And he posted this on True Social. Trump just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. We are very much on track, and I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed. That statement will be put out shortly. Okay, so once I get more information on that, I'll give you guys an update on this situation with this phone call, and maybe we get some information coming out on the Ukrainian side and what they have to say in regards to what happened last night. I mean, because if Vladimir Putin is agreeing to not attack energy sites, why did he go ahead and do that? And something that I noticed, Trump hasn't even come out and said anything on that yet. So it makes me wonder if maybe this wasn't actually like a full agreement. Maybe it was more of a statement, and maybe they're going to actually agree to that at the upcoming talks in the Middle East pretty soon. But who really knows? I mean, it just literally happened hours after, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin spoke. Okay, so pretty crazy. Now for more translated. It looks very strange if Putin does not intend to continue fighting against Ukraine and wants peace, then why is he demanding that we weaken our army? Okay, so he's talking about the demands coming from Russia. Also, that Russia's recently been saying like they want, Ukraine to basically lay down their arms, decrease their army size, and also no more weapons from the West, no more intelligence sharing, all that. So he's pretty much coming out and responding to Vladimir Putin's requests or demands recently. So it's like a 2-minute clip. Let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. This is him speaking in Finland today.
Хоча виглядає дуже дивно, якщо ти не збираєшся далі воювати проти нас і дійсно хочеш миру, я маю на увазі Путіна, то чому тобі боятися української армії? Для чого ти робиш все, щоб послабити нашу армію або послабити захист наших людей? Тому що коли ми говоримо про припинення допомоги, наприклад, важлива допомога, розвідданих, обмін розвідданих, важлива. Що найголовніше, що ми втрачаємо, якщо немає цих даних? У нас є свої дані і від інших партнерів. А що ми втрачаємо, якщо американських розвідданих немає? Наприклад, ми втрачаємо точність польоту або виходу балістики. Для чого це Путіну? Якщо він не хоче нас вбивати, для чого йому боротись, щоб президент Трамп зупинив нам цю інформацію? Це говорить про те, що це неадекватні вимоги. Це говорить про те, що він хоче, щоб ми не отримували інформацію, коли летить балістика по українським цивільним, тому що балістикою вони б'ють по цивільній інфраструктурі, значить він хоче, щоб ми не знали цих атак. А значить, щоб наші люди не йшли в бомбосховище. Тобто це все говорить про продовження війни. Тому я не вважаю, що треба йти на будь-які поступки щодо допомоги на Україні, а навпаки, треба посилювати допомогу Україні, тому що це сигнал, що Україна готова до будь-яких сюрпризів від русських.
Okay, so he's coming out and responding to Vladimir Putin's demands to, decrease the size of Ukraine's army, take away their intelligence sharing, and then he's pretty much saying, why would Russia want that? Well, it'd make it a lot easier for them to target Ukraine, and Ukraine wouldn't be able to know if incoming ballistic missiles are entering their territory. And then people can't get to the bomb shelters, so it'd kill a lot of innocent civilians inside of Ukraine. So, obviously a lot of these demands coming from Russia, I just don't see Ukraine agreeing to a lot of these things. And who knows, maybe that will continue the war over here. But that was something that he stated today during this conference in Finland. Now from Bliskovka, I think we can achieve a complete ceasefire in Ukraine in a few weeks, according to U.S. President's Special Envoy Witkoff. According to him, the U.S. plans to ease sanctions against the Russian Federation after such agreement is agreed. Okay, so here's a little post from Clash Report. Trump's envoy Witkoff. I think we can get to a full-on ceasefire in Ukraine in a couple of weeks. So who knows if that's going to happen? Maybe we'll see a ceasefire completely in this war. Maybe we won't. But based on the things that I've been seeing coming out from Russia's side, I mean, their demands are just many things that I don't see Ukraine agreeing to. So I don't know how we're going to get to a full ceasefire, but we should be seeing, I think as soon as maybe next week, these talks might start to begin again for ceasefire with Russia. I think Russia might be heading over to the Middle East, and the U.S. maybe, and maybe Ukraine will at the same time, and we'll see if we can get on track to having a ceasefire. But right now, it's not looking likely, especially after what we saw last night, right? Now from next is Russia shooting down its own drones. Trump's special representative Steve Witkoff stated that Russian forces destroyed 7 of their own drones that were aimed at striking Ukraine's energy system. I'm inclined to believe Putin, he said. Well, of course, who would doubt that? So interesting, right? So this is something also that Steve Witkoff stated. Won't bother showing this report because it's basically the same thing that's stated here. I don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. But yeah, reportedly Russia shooting down their own drones last night to prevent them from striking energy facilities, yet at the same time, we've got guided aerial bombs literally dropping right on top of an energy grid system in Sloviansk, okay? So you guys let me know what you think about that. That's a pretty crazy statement coming out from him. Now from Noel Reports, Russian channels report that the Crimean Bridge is shut down amid a strike threat with missile and air raid alerts issued across the region. Reports indicate Neptune missiles and strike drones are approaching the peninsula. So this was information coming out just earlier this morning that reportedly drones and Neptune were heading towards Crimea today. So the Kerch Bridge was shut down. Maybe that's what Ukraine's going after, and maybe we'll get that information later today. But reportedly, another attack onto Crimea today. Now, from Pekka Kalioniemi, Italy and Spain are objecting to the 40 billion euro aid package to Ukraine. As I've said before, those countries are not committed to defending Europe. You get all kinds of fiery speeches from them, but when it comes to actual aid, they're not willing to do much. Okay, so it looks like we have Spain and Italy basically rejecting sending 40 billion in aid to Ukraine. Okay, this has been something talked about for the last few days now. I've shown you guys these updates. So it looks like it's going to be delayed for right now because there's a few countries that just don't want to agree to sending this military aid. Okay, and that could really help out Ukraine a lot right now. Looks like it is stalled. Maybe it'll get moved forward in the future, but we'll continue to monitor that. Now, from Anton Gerashenko, Reuters reports that several U.S. national security agencies have stopped work to counter Russian sabotage, disinformation, and cyber attacks. Working groups were established by President Biden's administration to monitor the threats of Russia's shadow war against the West. The work was led by the National Security Council, involving at least 7 national security agencies working with European allies. Since President Trump took office, the work has stopped. Current and former officials report meetings between the National Security Council and European national security officials are no longer being scheduled, and the National Security Council has stopped coordinating efforts between the U.S. security agencies. Reuters reports FBI last month ended an effort to counter interference in U.S. elections by foreign adversaries, including Russia, and put on leave staff working on the issue. At the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice also disbanded a team that seized the assets of Russian oligarchs. This confirms that threats from Russia remains real and tangible. Okay, so this was an exclusive report from Reuters today. U.S. has spent some efforts to counter Russia's sabotage as Trump moves closer to Putin. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of major talks you can see here with all these reports coming out. You know, the U.S. just buddying up with Russia like crazy, starting to disband a lot of these operations to prevent Russian hybrid warfare or whatever it might be, sabotage. So we're continuing to see the U.S. move closer to buddying up with Russia, and it looks like it's moving at lightning speed, and it already started even before a lot of these reports are coming out, reportedly as far back as late January when Trump got into office. So things are definitely changing quickly in terms of relations with the U.S. and Russia, and they're moving towards more buddying up now. So that's big news. Also, War Translated, Reuters reports that the Trump administration may have deleted data on the abduction of Ukrainian children by Russians. Researchers lost access to vast amounts of information, including satellite images and other data about approximately 30,000 children taken from Ukraine. We have reason to believe that the data from the repository has been irreversibly deleted. If true, this will have devastating consequences, said Democratic lawmakers led by Ohio Representative Landsman in a letter to Secretary of State Rubio and Treasury Secretary Bessent. Okay, so take a look at this story. Trump administration halts program to track abducted Ukrainian children, lawmakers say. I mean, that's pretty crazy if that's purposely being done, which is what it looks like to me. The fact that these Ukrainian children were abducted, I mean, up to 30,000 of them, and all of a sudden all these files and information are being deleted. This whole system looks like it's going in the toilet, and the U.S. is basically not even going to pursue any of these cases anymore, is what it looks like to me. Which is absolutely insane. The fact that Ukraine was attacked by Russia, and we have a lot of children who are reportedly being abducted. You would think these would be continued to be investigated, but it looks like the U.S. is even pulling this away. So that's what I'm saying, guys. It looks like there's a lot of talks going on in the background. This may upset a lot of people, but the U.S. is heavily moving towards buddying up with Russia right now. Okay, and even doing things like this to prevent any future cases to be put onto Russia in terms of war crimes or whatever that might be, whether it be Vladimir Putin or any top officials of the Russian military. That's all going away is what it looks like to me. So pretty insane stories coming out. Now from Bliskovka, British special forces are on standby for a possible peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, according to The Independent. A 30,000 strong contingent is being considered to protect key cities, ports, and infrastructure. The plan involves air patrols involving Typhoon fighters and U.S. support. All right, UK Special Forces on standby to join Ukraine peacekeeping force. Okay, we heard just about a week ago that reportedly this whole situation is moving towards operational phase, where the UK is actually getting ready to send these troops to Ukraine in the event that we get a ceasefire with Russia and Ukraine. They're willing to send their own peacekeeping forces, and we also have multiple other nations, I think up to 30 nations in Europe that were willing to send their own troops. Okay, so more support for Ukraine and more show that Europe is ready to deploy their own peacekeepers to Ukraine if we get a ceasefire. Now from Anton Gerashenko, President Zelenskyy, Putin wants to conduct several offensives in the Zaporizhzhia direction in the east and the Kharkiv and Sumy directions to put maximum pressure on Ukraine. He will try to do all this in the coming months, and he doesn't care how many of his people die. He, along with his Koreans, his friends in Iran, and the Shahed drones want to enter our territory as much as possible in order to at some point, call a ceasefire with ultimatum messages to Ukraine to be in a more favorable situation and to put maximum pressure on Ukraine. On our people, on me directly, this is a fact. Okay, this was Zelenskyy yesterday. We're not going to show you guys this clip. Again, I don't want to make it longer than it needs to be. This is basically what he stated here. But apparently we're expecting major offensives coming from the Russians right now, which makes a lot of sense, okay? If Russia has, let's say, maybe a few more months before this war comes to an end, I would assume they're going to try to push forward as much as possible and try to take over more territory in the regions they're currently controlling. If they can take over more, I'm sure they'll try to take over more and try to put themselves in the best possible position before these negotiations begin, okay? So that's an update there. Now from Ukraine battle map, chances of ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia by April 20th. Earlier today, 55% chance. 6 hours later, 25% chance, okay? So the poly market indicating that the chances of a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine are just plummeting right now, down to 25%. It was starting to rise at one point a few days ago. Now, after what we saw happening last night with Ukraine being attacked, right after Russia saying they want a limited ceasefire with Ukraine to not attack energy facilities, all of a sudden, now the poly market just completely collapsing over here and showing these predictions that we're most likely not going to see a ceasefire, but who really knows what will happen? Time will tell, and we'll see if we get a ceasefire with Russia and Ukraine, but it's looking highly unlikely right now. Now for Max 24, Ukrainian air defense shot down 72 out of 145 Shahed UAVs, 56 drones suppressed by electronic warfare. We don't know how many Iskander-M missiles were shot down, but reportedly ballistic missiles being fired, and 4 S-300 missiles also being fired into Ukraine. We don't know if any were being shot down also. So here's a little diagram showing the amount of drones being shot down. So 72 for sure, 56 being suppressed by electronic warfare, and then again, missiles entering into Ukraine last night. And now our final update of the day, the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of March 19th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. All right, guys, so our final update of the day. Russia's losses as of March 19th, 1,060 troops, 14 AFVs, 111 vehicles and fuel tanks, 12 tanks, 64 artillery systems, 100 UAVs, and 1 MLRS. And it looks like that's it. Nothing on this column today. And looks like decent amount of equipment being destroyed last night, but only 1,060 troop casualties on the Russian side, 14 AFVs, and lots of vehicles and fuel tanks, 12 tanks. So, definitely even a lot of artillery systems. That's probably the most I've seen in a while being destroyed. Usually we see a max of like 40, 45. So there's your updates on the amount of equipment being destroyed on the Russian side. And that's going to be it for today's update, guys. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And please let me know what you think of all these details down in the comment section. But that's it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you with that. Hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.